Oh. Good morning, lovely people. How are you all doing today? I'm going to do something a bit different with you all today. I'll come and talk about that in the shed. But, as always, with every trip to the garden, the first job is seedlings to the cold frame. So these are some more peppers, my fehe uzun, my paprika, building work, paprika peppers. I've got my little basket here with all my odds and ends of snapped bamboos, dead diddy. I'm giving them all a little support because now they're outdoors, well, they're in the cold frame but the windows are open. Unlike at home, it gets quite windy here, and one gust they'll all be over, and they're a little bit fragile still at this stage. I've run out of gravel trays, i.e. trays without holes in the bottom. So all the trays I've got left now have got holes. So I've just literally a bag of compost, cut that up, line it, and that means that when I water them, especially because they're in the cold frame, they do get quite warm and dry in there. A little bit of water can sit in the bottom and they can sort of take that up slowly, gradually, surely. Yay! I think, I'm trying to remember now, I think this is my 6th seed exodus trip to the garden. There have been a couple of days, I've come down first thing with a couple of trays, but it's not a garden day. So literally, ooh, breezy, literally just get them in the cold frame and go back home, go and get on with my day. Right, I'll catch up with you all in the shed in a second. Good, that's the next lot of seedlings sorted and in the cold frame. And I've also, just before coming into the shed to talk to you all, I've watered beds where it's seed sitting right in the top of the soil, because we had rain. What day is it? So it's Wednesday the 12th today. Last time we had rain was Saturday the 8th, whatever it was. That rain, oh, it was brilliant. I digress. So I've watered where I've got seeds sitting in the top bit of the soil because that's drying out quite quickly. Onions I've watered. Potatoes I haven't, because actually a couple of inches down it's really quite moist and damp down there. But I've also watered some other beds, and they're the beds I'm going to be seeding later this morning. Yay! Also water some of the beds where it's really lumpy bumpy at the moment, so I'm sort of replicating the gentle rain on them, and then I can come along and just give them a bit of a bash down with my rake. So I said a few seconds ago, doing something a little bit different today by way of a video. I'm going to do another sort of mini tour. I don't usually do 2 tours in 1 month. I certainly don't do tours one week apart. It's exactly a week since that last one. The reason I'm going to do it today, though, is by way of encouragement. Yes, you can do it. When I did the May tour a week ago, I had loads of comments, emails, private messages from folk saying, thank you for feeling the same way as I do, and that is a bit behind and honestly a little bit daunted by the amount of work that needs doing. I hear you, you know, I feel it too. So the whole point of doing this today is to show you what I've managed in a week, and it's not a huge amount of hours. So what I've done is I've made a note of my hours this week. So, last Wednesday was the tour, and I was mentioning how I alternate my days of being in the garden. I don't, unless it's something really gentle, as a rule I don't do back-to-back days in the garden, just because it hurts too much. So Wednesday was the tour. I came back Friday. That's the day you saw me planting up my rose cuttings, for example. Then I came back Sunday, did a bit, and then I came back yesterday, Tuesday, did a bit more. And across those 3 visits, that was 13 hours. 4 hours, 4 hours, and 5 hours. Interestingly, I clocked as well that through April, most of my visits were about 3 hours, of which, say, 2 hours was work. So I think I'm definitely getting that little bit of garden stamina back. Yay, about time. So yes, 4, 4 and 5, 13 hours. However, the actual work during that time was more like 8 hours. As you know by now, I do a bit, and then I come and sit a bit, do a bit, sit a bit. And friends who have gardens and homes around who are working from home, quite often they come out to the garden for their lunch hour, lunch break. So when they come out, I use that as an excuse, and I have a little break too, because I tend to sort of come late morning and go middle of the afternoon, so that lunch break coincides with about the middle of my session. So yes, I'm letting you know this because I just really want to encourage you and give you faith. Take heart, you can do it. And actually what I've done over those 3 sessions, because it was 8 hours, if you're perfectly fit and able-bodied, you could do that on one day at the weekend, easily. Take some food with you, take some drinks with you, just spend the day there. Or 4 hours Saturday, 4 hours Sunday. So, now listen, don't expect the hanging gardens of Babylon. No miracles have happened. There isn't suddenly a green garden out there. But let me show you what I have managed to do across those 3 relatively short visits. Come on. Let me give you a long shot, first of all. It's actually a bit blustery today, so I hope the sound is going to be okay, and ignore that siren. Okay, so how have I progressed this week? Well, you know, in here I've got parsnips and calendula. The calendula are just starting to come up. And look, 1 week on, look at all my lovely poached eggs smiling. Oh, they're so pretty and cheerful, aren't they? Gorgeous. I mean, there must be 40 blooms have come out in the last couple of days. Okay, so that's as is. Now, these 2 beds I had dug, but I hadn't got them down to anything near what you might call a fine tilth. Let me bring you really close in. You can see now that I've gone from considerably worse than this down to, let me give you a finger just to have an idea of scale. Yeah, that's much finer. That's pretty much okay now for sowing in. That's going to be chickpeas and rocking core. They don't need it too fine. Similar work on this bed, although not so much this end, but at the far end I think I just need to get it down a little bit finer. You see it's still quite big lumps, and this is going to be for spinach and chard. They're not teeny tiny seeds, but I would like it a bit finer, and the way I do that, I've watered the beds this morning. I'm trying to replicate the action of fine, gentle rain. And then all I do, I come along with my rake, and I sort of, if that's my rake, I sort of bash it, but also sort of with a flicking action, if that makes sense. And it just helps break these really big lumps, because you can see where it hasn't really had that action. I mean, if I try to plant seeds in that, they'll fall through the cracks, they won't be in contact with the soil. So a little tiny bit more work on this bed this morning. Oh, and just to say, after the Friday video when I was doing my flower transplants, which you saw on Sunday. That Friday before I left, we were due to have rain all day Saturday. Great. So with all my beds, morning lovely, with all the beds, I've scattered chicken poo on the Friday afternoon. So that rain on Saturday has helped to just soften them and start to break them up and get into the soil. Okay, no change here, didn't do anything except I just want to point out, woohoo! First sign of a spod is my main crop, Cara. I noticed one there, one on the other side, which you can't see because of my shadow, and one here, plus a load of self-seeded nasturtiums, which I leave. They don't bother me. If they're in the way, I'll just yank them out. Right, so the last time you saw this bed, I just had the purple sprouting broccoli out, and it was a lumpy, humpy, bumpy state. So this has also now been properly dug over, at which time I found a crop of last year's salad potatoes. Yay, bonus crop. So I said a proper dig over and then bringing it down to as fine a tilth as possible, because this will be sown with fennel, which are really small seeds. Okay, no change there. Onions, carrots, no sign of any carrots yet. Onions sprouting nicely. And then this bed is quite a big change. So if you remember, this was a mountain of blown purple sprouting broccoli just mounted on the floor, and that was all the Cavolo Nero. This is what I'm particularly pleased to have got on with and done this year, finally. Moving the paths. You know, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I always do what I say I'm going to do, just not always straight away. So this bed, this was the main issue. Let me come and stand here. It was really quite narrow, and I wanted to steal, in the end I've stolen about 20 centimetres, which meant this path had to move across, and this path moved a bit. You won't be able to tell now, but this path, oh my goodness, the other thing I've done is level it, because on this side it was right up here, this side down here, so I've kind of scooched off the top level on this side, brought it over here to flatten it and level it, which for me, with my combination of dyspraxia and arthritis, is a very good idea. I feel so much happier walking on this path now. I feel safe. So yeah, so this path has also moved only maybe 10 centimetres maybe, and obviously that's all the brassica stalks. As I was mentioning, I spent 3 hours chopping up all the waste. I'll show you that in a sec. This side of the path has come over about 15 centimetres and this one about 20. So you can see how this bed has now gained, this bed has lost a little, and that one has as well, but they're still big enough to be versatile. And you can see this is really lumpy bumpy. Huge lumps, as is this one next door. This is just all these lumps and bumps. This isn't from doing the paths. This is just from pulling out the brassicas, leaving these massive boulders. So this path again, I just sneaked it ever so slightly. This has stayed pretty much where it was. Sneaked this one a bit, and then now that I look at it, I think I'd possibly like to push this path over a bit, because I think that bed's quite large, but I'm not going to know. It's hard to get a visual on it until I take all this stuff off. But yeah, I am so pleased to get this job done. I'm so proud of myself for doing it. Yay, it's finally done. But honestly, I mean, look at this. This is what I'm contending with. I'll try and give you an idea of size. That's my hand. Look, that's my soil when I take plants out. So this, opla, this ex Cavolo bed and this ex cabbage bed I might not do today. We're due another drizzly day tomorrow. I might just let the drizzle happen and then I can come along with my rake and bash them down a bit, because this is going to be tomatoes. This is for cucumbers and peppers. It doesn't need to be a fine tilth like I would want for seeds. And yet another bed done. So this is going to be for the Coco de Pampo. Remember in the tour, I didn't get around to it. I just uncovered it. It's covered in all sorts of twiggy detritus. That's all been tickled in now. And this has also been broken down to not the finest tilth, but again, I'm sowing beans in here. Coco de pea. So it doesn't need to be as fine as, let's come round again, as fine as that one that's having the fennel, or that one that's having the chard and spinach. Oh, I just keep looking at my new paths and feeling so happy. Actually, I don't know if this will pick up on here, but can you see how much I had to cut down to get this level? So I cut down about 2.5 inches here and added it here, which sort of brought this side up 2.5 inches, which meant, yeah, for the first time in 3 years, I've got a level path. Fabulosa. Okay, so nothing happening here still. Hopefully action in this bed in the coming week. The cold frame, since you last saw it, oh, it's filling up. Gorgeous, gorgeous peppers. The peppers, all the peppers at this front end, these are the Fehe Ozin, the paprika peppers. And then in this back end, these are the orange bell, which is your kind of a bog standard bell pepper, but they come out a gorgeous orange colour. That is now, I think, 30 Gardener's Delight tomatoes. That's all the Gardener's Delight. I've got four or five other varieties of tomatoes to start bringing down now. And let me show you, I just mentioned all the brassicas and chopping. Wait till you get a knife of this. Oh, it's warm in there. Oh, that sunk down even in overnight. That was full to there, full to the top yesterday. Oh my goodness, look, those snails have all been in the brassicas and are crawling out. So what I did, because it was masses and masses of green brassicas, I always keep my sort of spent cardboard here. So I tear a load, and as I'm adding this, mix the cardboard in with it. Crikey. Yeah, do you know what it was? Because the brassicas, where they were lying on the ground and they were wet, they were snail haven. When I was chopping them yesterday, I was well aware that there were a ton of them in there. Yuck. Yucky, yuck, yuck. Right, let's get that closed, keep the warmth in, because it'll help it compost more quickly. Oh, it's so lovely. It is so lovely to see this site. Oh my goodness, brilliant. Now, so you'll have seen on the video, there's the rose and honeysuckle. I have been giving them a drop of water because, as I mentioned when I planted them, it's quite dry down there. Look at this verbena from Gary last year. It was such a slither, scrawny looking plant. That's well away. And can you make out? That's the shoots of the crocosmia. Yeah, I hope they take okay. Not much change on the deck either. Oh yeah, gathered up all my pebble labels. They will be getting redone, ready for this year. I'm happy to see the brassicas, oh, 2 leaves. There's a load more have germinated since I did the tour last week. Loads more, which obviously delights me, because when it was just these few I was getting a bit worried. But yeah, loads coming up. Actually, do you know what? There's so much chard coming up in here. I'm now thinking I might not bother direct sowing any. Just use these. A few more curly kales coming up too. They're really hard to see. Actually, if I do it in profile, you might be able to see. I think pretty much every cell now has 1 or 2. At the back, that's the 2 leftover rose cuttings that have now got their own pots for me to bring them on. Yay! Suddenly, why was I worried? Suddenly I've got a ton of brassica seedlings coming up. Fantastic. Even in the cabbage lot, remember I was saying this was all really old seed, I just chucked it in without much expectation. But yeah, 1 week on. You know what I think it is? We've been having rain and warmth. And that gives you an idea, doesn't it? Rain and warmth, yeah, it's bringing them all on a treat. I got the sweet peas in the other day, which you didn't see because that was right at the end of the video. Remember I was mentioning putting the twiggy rose prunings in. I've got a little bit more down there that I might sort of put around the edge just to encourage them. So good to get those in. Oh, and oh my goodness, the peppermint transplant pot saga. No, I didn't find the missing pot. Do you see the one the marjoram's in, the big square one? It was one just like that I'd set aside to put the peppermint in. Heaven knows where it went, but I did at least find this slightly bigger one to transplant the pepper into. Oh, look at the green, isn't it lovely? Green and freshly prepped beds all ready to go. So yeah, oh, standing up, I am chuffed. I'm chuffed. That is 3 visits, 8 hours work. And like I said, you know, if I can do it, you can too. I absolutely know you can. Oh, how great. Oh, we're getting very chatty. I think I'll go in the shed. It suddenly got really busy out there for a midweek lunchtime-ish slot. Oh, so lovely. Everyone's just thoroughly enjoying being back in their gardens. So yes, the point I was trying to make is I'm chuffed with what I've managed this week. No, it's not like a massive before and after. You know, we're still early in the year in terms of things actually being seeded, planted or growing. But I hope that's given you some encouragement and inspiration that, you know, the backbone of the garden is in place again. Beds are dug, beds are tilthed, beds are prepped. Those paths, oh my goodness, I can't tell you how happy I am about moving that path. It's the silliest thing, isn't it? It's 20 centimetres. Why did I bother just for 20 centimetres? I'll tell you for why I bothered. 20 centimetres is a whole nother row of something. You know, if it's something small like carrots or onions, it's a whole nother row of them. But more than that, the width it was a little bit tight to get 2 rows of brassicas. And my brassicas are really important to me throughout the winter. So adding the 20 centimetres is just enough to now comfortably have 2 rows of brassicas. And the whole idea of that is that, you know, every year as I do my crop rotations or as I decide I'm not going to bother with such and such a plant anymore, I want to try something new, just making that bed the full sort of metre or so wide, it just gives me flexibility going forward. Now, I could literally use that bed for anything. Whereas 80 centimetres, ooh, some things it would be just a little bit too small for. So, chuffed I've done it. It's been on my to-do list since, I think I was thinking about doing it in the winter of 2019. It didn't happen. We went into 2020 and then I got my knickers in a right old twist about compost, and we drought and we baked hard and I thought I couldn't do it. So by the time I did get on with the garden, moving that path, it was just not on the agenda last year. So yeah, 18 months late, but I've finally done it. Yay! So yeah, don't give up. Don't, don't beat yourself up if you had plans that you haven't put into action yet. Have realistic goals. I think the realistic goal for us all at the moment is to just get our beds prepped and seeded. That's realistic. Everything else, like I was saying the other day, don't worry about it for now. Sort that out in the summer or next winter or the winter after that. That signpost. I mean, it took me a year to replace that post, but it happened. Anyway, so there we are. I'm going to wrap it up now. I really, 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 really hope that's given you the encouragement to get out to your garden. Just tackle one bed. Just get out and tackle one bed. And once you've done it, you will create momentum. I've definitely found that this week. The stage I'm at now, I can't wait for my next garden visit to get those 2 old brassica beds beaten up a bit and start to prepare the squash beds, start to think about getting my bean arches up. Yay! So yeah, this weekend, give it a go. Get out there, one bed, one lot of seeds. You'll get there. Alright lovelies, I will see you again really soon, maybe for some seed sowing. I'm not sure yet what, but yeah, I'll see you all again really soon. So in the meantime, please take care of yourselves. Just let that enthusiasm for the gardening come back. It is there, it's just you squashed it down over the winter. Let it come out and flourish like our plants are beginning to. Cheerio everyone.